I found my wife in bed with my son's best friend, and their payback was swift and brutal. It started like any other Wednesday. I came home early from work, intending to surprise my wife, Claire, with dinner. The weight of a dozen roses felt light in my hand as I imagined her smile. The house was quiet when I walked in, though my son, Ethan, usually had his friends over in the afternoons. It struck me as odd. Setting the flowers on the counter, I moved through the house, calling out, "Claire? Ethan? Anyone home?" No answer. Something felt off. My steps were cautious as I headed toward the bedroom. The faintest sounds, a muffled laugh, a gasp, came from behind the closed door. My stomach twisted. Slowly, I pushed the door open. And there they were. Claire, my wife of 20 years, dangled in the sheets with a young man I immediately recognized, Kyle, my son's best friend. I stood there, frozen, my mind racing to process the scene. Claire's head snapped toward me, her face shifting from shock to guilt. Kyle scrambled to grab his clothes, stammering incoherent excuses. "John," Claire gasped, pulling the sheet up to cover herself. "It's not what it looks like." My voice came out cold, steady. "Oh, I think it's exactly what it looks like." Kyle tried to speak. "Mr. Henderson, I..." "Get out." My eyes locked on him, and he quickly bolted, clutching his jeans and shirt as he fled. I could hear the back door slam shut moments later. Claire sat up, her face pale. "John, please, let me explain." "Explain?" I laughed bitterly. "Explain how you've been sleeping with a boy who used to eat pizza in my living room and play video games with my son?" "It just happened," she whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. "I didn't mean for this to happen." I shook my head, the weight of betrayal crushing me. "You didn't mean for it to happen? That's your excuse?" The room fell silent, the air thick with tension. I walked out, slamming the door behind me. My hands trembled as I grabbed my phone and called Ethan. "Hey, Dad," he answered cheerfully. "What's up?" "Come home. Now." Okay. Is everything all right?" I couldn't bring myself to answer. "Just come home." Ethan arrived 20 minutes later, looking concerned as he stepped through the door. "Dad? What's going on?" I gestured for him to sit down. My throat felt dry as I said, "There's something you need to know." Ethan's reaction was explosive. "What the hell?" he shouted, pacing the living room. "Kyle? My best friend? Are you kidding me?" Claire sat on the other side of the room, her face streaked with tears. "Ethan, I don't. Just don't." He turned on her, his face red with anger. "How could you do this? To Dad? To me?" "I made a mistake," she said weakly. "A mistake?" Ethan's voice cracked. "No, a mistake is forgetting someone's birthday or spilling coffee. This is betrayal." The doorbell rang suddenly, cutting through the heated moment. Ethan stormed to answer it, and there stood Kyle, looking sheepish. "I came to," he started, but Ethan didn't let him finish. His fist flew before I could stop him, landing squarely on Kyle's jaw. "Ethan," I yelled, pulling him back. Kyle staggered, holding his face. "I deserve that," he muttered. "You deserve a lot worse," Ethan spat. "You're dead to me." Kyle raised his hands defensively. "I'm sorry, man. I screwed up. But it's not like..." "Not like what?" Ethan interrupted. "Not like you've ruined my family?" Kyle turned to me, his face earnest. "Mr. Henderson, I'm sorry. I really am. Get off my porch," I said, my voice low and dangerous. "And don't come back." Kyle hesitated but ultimately slinked away, leaving us in the wreckage of what had once been a family. The days that followed were a blur. I moved into the guest room, unable to even look at Claire. Ethan refused to speak to her entire. One night, as I sat nursing a glass of whiskey, Ethan joined me. "Dad," he said quietly, "I've been thinking about how we handle this." I raised an eyebrow. "We?" He nodded. "Yeah. You and me. I'm not letting her or Kyle get away with this." I stared at him, seeing a hardness in his eyes that mirrored my own. "What do you have in mind?" Ethan's plan was simple but devastating. He reached out to Kyle's girlfriend, Jenna, spilling everything. She was livid, vowing to break things off and spread the word about Kyle's betrayal. Meanwhile, I took a different route. Claire's affair wasn't just a personal betrayal, it had financial consequences too. Our house, our joint savings. I wasn't about to let her walk away unscathed. I filed for divorce the next morning, blindsiding her with the papers. "You're really doing this?" she asked, her voice shaking. "What did you expect?" I shot back. "That I'd forgive and forget?" Tears streamed down her face, but I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. As for Kyle, he faced the wrath of more than just Jenna. Word spread among their friend group, and soon he found himself ostracized. His once promising college football career took a hit when Ethan anonymously sent the coach a video of Kyle's drunken antics at a party, antics that violated team policy. By the end of it all, Claire and Kyle were left isolated, their reputations in tatters. Ethan and I, on the other hand, found a strange sense of solidarity in our shared anger. It wasn't the kind of bond I would have chosen, but it was something. And as I watched Claire pack her bags and leave the house we built together, I felt no sadness, only relief. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but at least it was a road I'd walk without betrayal weighing me down.